Welcome to AIMS Science Test Administration Training for Spring 2018. Most of the training for state assessments has been completed on February 7th. Staff should refresh any parts of the training as needed prior to state testing. The only new training is the AIMS Science training for teachers to be familiar with the functions in the AIMS platform, PAN, and AIMS Science Test Administration. Technology is supporting AIMS Science testing by pushing the download of TestNav 8 to all devices. Desktop computers connected to smartboards also have the secure browsers installed, but the software to run the smartboard interferes. Do not plan to use these devices for testing. Sites need to verify that all equipment and testing spaces are set up and operational for testing. Prior to testing, teachers also work with students to take AIMS practice tests in TestNav 8, so students are familiar with the platform. More information is provided on the slides to follow. AIMS sample tests continue to be available through the ADE AIMS Science website. AIMS sample tests contain sample items for 4th and 8th grade based upon the content of the current Arizona Science Standards and are the same as prior years. 8th grade students will be provided with a reference sheet of the periodic table for their test. Copies of the reference sheet will be provided and sent to sites the week of March 19th. To prepare rooms for testing, remove or cover any visual aids before the testing sessions. This slide provides additional information about the AIMS practice test in TestNav 8. The practice test is only 10 questions. There is a one-page document with an explanation about the practice test and answer key posted on the Pearson Access Next or PAN portal on the first page after you log in under Links. There is a one-page document available for both 4th and 8th grade. The purpose of the AIMS Science Practice Test is only to familiarize students, teachers, and parents with the user interface of the AIMS Science assessments. The practice test does not provide scores for students and should not be used to measure students' content knowledge. The test is not predictive of AIMS Science summative performance, but does provide an opportunity for students to respond to similar types of items and to become familiar with TestNav. Step-by-step directions for the practice test and an overview of the tools in the TestNav 8 system are provided in the quick guide for the AIMS practice test. AIMS science testing should be included on the site's testing schedule and communicated to families and teachers. The window for AIMS science is March 26th through April 20th, and this is inclusive of makeup tests. Please note that students in the same grade level, at the same school, or in the same district are not required to test on the same day. For example, half the 8th graders at a middle school could test on Monday, the other half on Tuesday, and makeups on Thursday. The tests are 2 sections and each is predicted to take between 45 minutes and 1 hour to complete. However, please remember that AIMS Science is not a timed test. Once logged into the system with a test unlocked, students must complete that section of the test on the same day. Students are permitted to complete the 2 sections of the test on different days if needed. Calculators are not allowed on any part of the AIMS Science test. Any student with a calculator in their possession during the science testing sessions will have their assessment invalidated. Scratch paper, however, is now allowed for AIMS Science tests. Scratch paper is a secure test material and therefore needs to be collected at the end of each test session and securely destroyed. There are several items that need to be taken care of in the Pearson Access Next platform to prepare for testing. Staff and student users will be added through automated upload processes by the assessment and data processing teams. Please check with your site test coordinator and email stateassessments@kyrene.org if you have questions about user counts or need a user account added. Site test coordinators and applicable staff will complete setup in PAN before AIMS testing. This includes setting up testing groups, confirming accommodations, downloading seal codes, printing test tickets, and preparing test sessions. Both seal codes and test tickets are required for AIMS testing sessions. Test tickets allow students to log into the TestNav 8 system, and seal codes allow students to unlock the testing section. The next several slides show how to sign into Pearson Access Next and access AIMS management system and information. Pearson Access Next, or PAN, is the site that will be used for AIMS Science. PAN is Pearson's test management portal. It is not the actual test delivery system that students will use when testing. That is TestNav 8. PAN is where users manage student testing information and retrieve testing reports. Site test coordinators have been added to the system as of March 3rd. Staff users will be added to the system on March 6th based upon the list provided by site test coordinators. An email will be sent on March 5th to alert users to the automated activation message they will receive from the PAN system. Teachers can link to PAN and TIDE from the Kyrene employee page under the heading Teacher and subheading Assessment. Most users in PAN will only have access to AIMS Science. If you have access to PAN for both the Azella and AIMS Science, the username and password will be the same. When you log in, you will default to the last program that you were working on. You can easily switch between the Azella and AIMS Science if needed. At the top of the screen, the black bar will indicate the test administration and district or school that you are currently logged in for. To change either the test administration or the school, click on the appropriate drop-down arrow. When you log into PAN, verify that you are on the AIMS Science page and not Azella if you have access to both programs. The home pages are very similar. There are three main links that you will use for managing AIMS Science Test Administration: Setup, Testing, and Reports. The right side of the page has links for resources that will be available for AIMS Science. As new information is available, the links will be updated. You can also click on the support link at the top of the page to see all the supporting documents available. The next slides show how to obtain seal codes and print testing tickets using testing groups. These steps should be completed only a day or two before testing, once testing groups are finalized. For the online AIMS Science Test Administration, there is new testing terminology such as seal codes, scheduled sessions, session student roster, and testing tickets, which are considered session resources. The scheduled sessions and session student rosters are added through student uploads and will already appear in the system. Site testing coordinators and teachers do not need to do anything for these to appear in the system. Seal codes are needed for a student to unlock their test section, and testing tickets are needed for a student to log into TestNav 8. To access a testing session in PAN, select Sessions from the Testing drop-down menu. As shown in Arrow 1, under Find Sessions under the Search menu, click the box next to Show All Results. On the session screen, you will see the list of all available sessions. You will have one session listed for your school for the online test for either 4th or 8th grade. For Step 2, click the box next to the session to select it. For Step 3, click the Go to Students in Session link at the top of the page to access the Students in Session page. In Step 1, highlight a session name in the session list to view the roster for that test. In Step 2, using the Resources pull-down menu is where you access seal codes and print test tickets. Select seal codes from the pull-down menu. Another tab will open in the browser and provide the seal codes for the two sections of the AIMS Science test. Seal codes are used to unlock each section of the test. Test administrators will print out the list of seal codes so that they can provide the seal codes to students before administering each section of the test. Each session will have a unique seal code report. Students take AIMS Science Part 1 first and AIMS Science Part 2 second. The seal code report should be treated as secure test material. Testing tickets are printed for each student and provide the student username and password for logging into TestNav 8. Pearson's online testing platform. Testing tickets contain student information and should be treated as a secure test material. There are several steps to printing test tickets. First, you select a testing session from the session list. Step 2, You select a testing group in the testing group field on the left side of the page next to the roster. When you start typing the name of your school, all your testing groups will appear for the section. Once the testing group is selected, the roster will update to include only students in that testing group. Third, you will check the box at the top left corner of the roster list to select all students in the list. Please note that if there are more than 25 students in the list, you will need to either expand the list to display more records or navigate to the second page to select the other students. Step 4. In the Resources menu, select Print Selected for this session. This is the option at the bottom of the menu. At this time, another tab will open in the browser with the testing tickets for students that are selected. Step 5. Use the Print Format drop-down to select the grid format. This format will print the test tickets 10 per page. Be sure to print single-sided so that you can cut the tickets and distribute them to students. The next slides show how to start a session and unlock tests in PAN. These steps are completed at the beginning of the testing session by the test administrator. Test administrators must start a session and unlock student tests prior to students being able to log in to TestNav 8. To access a testing session in PAN, select Sessions from the Testing drop-down menu. Then, under Find Sessions under the Search menu, click the box next to Show All Results, as shown in Step 1. On the session screen, you will see the list of available sessions. You will have one session listed for your school for the online test for either 4th or 8th grade. Click the box next to the session to select it, as shown in Step 2. Then, click the Go to Students and Sessions link to access the Students and Sessions page, as shown in Step 3. This slide shows how to unlock tests. First, you should take attendance for your testing session. Make a note of any students that are assigned to your group but not present. First, you will highlight a session name in the session list to view the roster for that test. And secondly, select a testing group by typing the testing group name in that field. The testing group names start with the name of the school followed by the test administrator name. Once you have selected the testing group, you can verify that your test roster is correct. Then you will click on the Start Session button. When a test session is locked, in PAN, all tests are locked. Test administrators must unlock a student's test before the student is able to log in to TestNav 8 to begin testing. In Step 4, you can unlock tests for each student that is present. You can unlock tests for the whole group using the slider under where the Start Session button was, or unlock individual students by clicking the Ready button next to the student's name and unlocking each test. When the tests are unlocked, the Ready button will still appear, but there will be no lock on the left. Verify the student test status before the student attempts to sign in to TestNav 8. The student's test status should be ready, and the lock icon should not be available in the status box. Once a session has been started and test unlocked, you are ready to start the test session with students. Directions for starting the test with students are on page 12 of the AIMS Science Test Administration Directions. Write the seal code for the appropriate test session on the board and distribute the test tickets to students. Students do not need to take both sections of the test on the same day. However, students do need to take the test sections in order, Test Section 1 first and Test Section 2 second. The seal codes are section specific, so please make sure and write the corresponding seal code for the section you are administering. Have the students launch TestNav 8 on their device. The scripted directions will take students through the process of signing in, checking sound, checking their name, starting the test, entering the seal code, and finally, starting the test. The next slides show how to resume students' tests. These steps are completed during the testing session if a student takes a break or uses the restroom, or the student needs extended time for their test session and needs to move to another testing location. In AZ Merit, students can pause their test. In TestNav 8, students log out of the test when they are away from their screen. When a student signs out of TestNav or a test times out, the student's test status changes to exited, and the student's test must be resumed before a student may sign in to TestNav 8 to complete testing. To access the testing session in PAN, select the Sessions from the Testing drop-down menu. Under Find Sessions under the Search menu, click the box next to Show All Results. On the session screen, you will see the list of available sessions. You will have one session listed for your school for the online test for either grade 4 or grade 8. Then, click the box next to the session to select it as shown in Step 2. Then, click the Go to Students in Session link to access the Students in Session page. You may already be there from launching the test. When a student signs out of TestNav or a test times out, the student's test status changes to exited, and the student's test must be resumed before the student may sign into TestNav 8 to complete testing. For Step 1, on the Students in Session page, highlight a session name to view the roster for that test. Step 2, select a testing group by typing the testing group name in the testing group field. The testing group names start with the name of the school, followed by the test administrator name. This will display the roster for only your testing group. Place a check next to the student whose test you need to resume. Their status will show as exited. Step 4, in the Start menu, click on All Tasks to open the task for Students in Session page. Step 5, navigate to the Resume to Students Test tab, which is the second tab. Check the box next to the left of the student name to select them as shown in Step 6. Then, in Step 7, click the Resume button. The student's status will change to Resumed. The student may sign into TestNav 8 with their test ticket credentials and resume testing. Click on Exit Tasks to return to the Students in Testing Session page. Please contact your district test coordinator regarding any student who takes test sections out of order or whose status does not show complete after the conclusion of testing. Most students will be marked complete automatically. This status is created by students submitting final answers after completing their second test section. Students might show an exited status instead of a completed status if students logged out without submitting their final answers, students did not complete their test, or students completed the test sections out of order. In conclusion, the test administration directions and troubleshooting guides provide information to support you before and during testing. However, if you ever feel that you need help during a testing session, please don't hesitate to contact your site test coordinator or technology help desk for assistance. This concludes our AIM Science training.